Most of us spend years chasing what to add to our lives: more success, more love, more validation. But here's the truth: your peace won't come from what you add, it comes from what you quietly subtract. Sometimes it's not about becoming more, it's about carrying less. And if you can let go of the right things, you'll make room for the life you've always wanted. So tonight, I want to share with you 10 things you should quietly eliminate from your life, because your future deserves better than the weight you've been dragging behind you. Let's talk about the first thing you need to quietly eliminate from your life: toxic relationships. You see, there are people in your life right now who don't love you, they just love the benefits of being connected to you. They love your energy, they love what you provide, they love the way you make them feel important, but they don't love you. And sometimes we confuse that attention for care, but if you look closely, their actions don't match their words. They drain you, they pull you into their storms, and they expect you to always be the strong one, while never offering you the same support in return. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's using you, and it's time to let those people go. The danger of holding on to toxic people is that they start to shape the way you see yourself. Every negative word they drop on you becomes a seed planted in your mind. They make you question your worth, your decisions, your path in life. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to shrink. You play smaller than you are just to keep them comfortable. But hear me, no relationship is worth losing yourself. Not family, not friends, not even the person you thought was your forever. If their presence costs you your peace, the price is too high. And here's the hard truth: letting go won't always feel empowering in the moment. It will feel lonely. It will feel painful. Because toxic people aren't always cruel all the time. Sometimes they're sweet, sometimes they make you laugh, sometimes they show you just enough affection to keep you second guessing. That's the trap. They give you crumbs, and you convince yourself it's a meal. But deep down you know you deserve more than leftovers of someone's love. When you quietly step back from those people, you create space for the right ones to walk in. People who don't just take, but pour into you. People who celebrate you when you win and stand by you when you fall. People who want to see you grow, even if it means outgrowing them. Those are the relationships that heal, that build, that last. But you'll never meet them if your life is already crowded with those who don't value you. The most powerful thing you can do is protect your energy. Don't waste it trying to prove yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Don't exhaust yourself trying to convince someone to stay who's already halfway out the door. And don't ever beg for love that should flow freely. If someone can't see your worth, that's not your fault. It's their limitation. Quietly eliminating toxic relationships isn't about bitterness, it's about boundaries. It's about saying, I love myself enough not to settle for connections that hurt me. You don't have to announce it, you don't have to argue, you don't have to explain. Just step back, protect your heart. Because the moment you stop giving your time and energy to the wrong people, the right people will finally have room to find you. So if you've been carrying someone who constantly drains you, hear me when I say this: you don't owe them your peace. You don't owe them your joy, and you don't owe them access to a heart they never valued in the first place. One of the heaviest weights you can carry in life is the need for constant approval. Think about how many decisions you've delayed, how many dreams you've silenced, how many times you've watered yourself down just because you were afraid of what someone else might think. It's like handing over the pen of your life story and letting someone else write the chapters. And here's the reality: you will never make everyone happy. No matter how hard you try, someone will always have an opinion, someone will always find fault, someone will always believe they know what's best for you. And if you spend your life trying to please them all, you'll lose yourself in the process. The need for approval shows up in little ways. It's checking your phone after you post something, waiting for those likes and comments to validate your worth. It's holding back your true feelings in conversations because you don't want to rock the boat. It's pretending to agree with choices that don't sit right with your spirit just so people won't judge you. And slowly, this pattern chips away at who you really are. Because when you're always performing for the world, you forget what it feels like to live for yourself. The problem is that approval is a moving target. Today, people might clap for you. Tomorrow, they might criticize you for the same thing. Today, they might cheer for your courage. Tomorrow, they might laugh at your mistakes. If you tie your self-worth to their applause, you'll spend your life on a roller coaster, high when they cheer, broken when they don't. That's no way to live. The loudest validation you'll ever need is the quiet approval you give yourself when you know you're living in alignment with your values. When you eliminate the need for constant approval, something powerful happens. You stop asking for permission to be yourself. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You stop apologizing for existing in the way you were designed. You start to make decisions not out of fear of judgment, but out of faith in your own calling. And when that happens, you step into a freedom that no one can take away from you. Yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, because approval has been like a drug. You've gotten used to the quick high of someone saying, "I'm proud of you," or "That was amazing." When you stop relying on it, you'll feel the withdrawal. But stay the course. Learn to sit in the silence of no applause and still clap for yourself. Learn to stand in a room where no one understands your vision and still believe in it enough to keep moving forward. That's when you know you've eliminated the chains of approval. And here's the secret: when you stop begging for approval, the right people will start respecting you more. Because confidence is magnetic. Authenticity is attractive. The world may not always agree with you, but they will feel your strength when you stand in who you are without apology. So let this be the moment you stop waiting for permission to live your life. Let this be the moment you stop outsourcing your worth to people who can't see the depth of who you are. You don't need their applause to prove you're valuable. You don't need their nod to know you're enough. You were already worthy before anyone noticed you, and you'll still be worthy long after they forget your name. Fear of change is one of the most silent killers of potential. We hold on to what feels familiar, even when it hurts, because at least we know it. We convince ourselves that the pain we know is safer than the possibility of something better we don't. That's how people stay stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, or habits that keep them small. It's not because they don't want more. It's because fear has convinced them that stepping into the unknown is too risky. But what if the unknown is the very place where your breakthrough is waiting? Change is uncomfortable, no doubt about it. It shakes the ground beneath your feet. It takes away the certainty you've been leaning on. It makes you question if you're strong enough, smart enough, worthy enough to handle what's next. And that's exactly why most people resist it. But here's the truth. Growth never comes from staying where you are. Comfort zones are cozy, but nothing new is born there. Every version of yourself that you dream of becoming is on the other side of a change you're afraid to make. Think back to a moment in your life when you did something that scared you. Maybe it was leaving a place you outgrew. Maybe it was saying no to someone you thought you couldn't live without. Maybe it was taking a chance on an opportunity you didn't feel fully ready for. At the time, it probably felt terrifying. But looking back, didn't that decision shape you into who you are today? Didn't it teach you resilience, clarity, or courage you didn't know you had? Change has a way of feeling unbearable in the moment, but invaluable in hindsight. The fear of change often disguises itself as logic. We tell ourselves, it's not the right time, or I'll do it when I'm more prepared, or what if it doesn't work out? But those excuses are fear dressed up in polite language. The truth is, it will never feel like the perfect time. You'll never feel 100% ready. And yes, sometimes it won't work out the way you imagined. But even then, It will move you closer to the life you're meant to live. Standing still doesn't protect you, it just delays the lessons you were meant to learn. Eliminating fear of change doesn't mean you'll never feel afraid again. It means you stop letting fear have the final say. It means you recognize that fear as just a signal you're stepping into new territory, and that's exactly where you need to be. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward while fear rides in the passenger seat but never gets to touch the wheel. When you stop resisting change, you start to trust life more. You start to see closed doors not as punishments, but as redirections. You start to see endings not as failures, but as beginnings in disguise. And little by little, you realize that change is not your enemy. It's the very thing that keeps your story alive, dynamic, and meaningful. So don't let fear trick you into thinking your best days are behind you. Don't let it chain you to a version of yourself you've already outgrown. What's ahead of you requires faith, yes, but it also holds a freedom you'll never experience if you keep clinging to what feels safe. The life you're dreaming of is already waiting, but you'll only meet it when you're willing to change. Comparison is one of the quietest thieves of joy, and yet it's something almost all of us fall into without even noticing. You scroll through your phone, and suddenly you're staring at someone who seems to be living the life you've been dreaming of. They've got the career, the body, the relationship, the lifestyle. And before you realize it, you've gone from feeling okay about your own life to questioning everything you've done. That's the trap of comparison. It doesn't just make you admire someone else, it makes you resent yourself. The truth is, comparison blinds you to your own progress. You could be miles ahead of where you were last year, but the moment you see someone else further down the road, you start to feel like you're standing still. You forget how far you've come because you're too focused on how far someone else appears to be. And I say appears because most of the time, you're comparing yourself to a version of their life that's been carefully edited. People don't post their doubts, their failures, their insecurities. They show you the highlight reel, and you're comparing it to your behind the scenes. No wonder it feels like you're losing. What comparison also does is steal the uniqueness of your own journey. No two people have the same path, the same timing, the same lessons to learn. Imagine planting two different kinds of seeds in the ground. One sprouts in a week, the other takes months. Would you look at the one still underground and call it a failure? Of course not. You trust that it's growing in its own time, at its own pace. Yet when it comes to ourselves, we forget that truth. We look at someone else blossoming and assume it means we're behind, when in reality, we're just in a different season. When you eliminate comparison, you give yourself permission to celebrate your own progress, no matter how small. Maybe your win today was just getting out of bed when your mind told you not to. Maybe it was choosing to speak up in a meeting. Maybe it was saying no to something that drained you. Those are victories worth honoring, even if no one else sees them, because your journey isn't about being ahead of anyone, it's about being ahead of who you were yesterday. Comparison will also rob you of genuine connections if you let it. Instead of celebrating others, you start resenting them. Instead of being inspired by someone's success, you see it as a threat to your own. But here's the truth. Someone else's blessing doesn't cancel out yours. Someone else's victory doesn't diminish your potential. There's enough space in this world for all of us to shine. When you let go of comparison, you can finally cheer for others without questioning your own value, and that shift creates a kind of freedom you can't put into words. And don't think eliminating comparison means you stop striving for more. It just means you stop measuring your worth by someone else's pace. You can still have ambition, still want growth, still chase your dreams. But you'll do it because it's aligned with your heart, not because you're trying to keep up with someone else's highlight reel. That's how you build a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good from the outside. So the next time you catch yourself comparing, remind yourself of this. You're not behind, you're not less, you're not late. You're on your path, and it's unfolding exactly how it's supposed to. The words you speak to yourself carry more weight than anything anyone else could ever say to you. And yet, for so many of us, the harshest voice in our life isn't from the outside, it's the one inside our own head. That quiet whisper that tells you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not attractive enough, you're not capable enough. Over time, those words become the soundtrack of your life, shaping the way you see yourself, the way you act, and even the way you allow others to treat you. Negative self-talk doesn't just criticize. It convinces you to settle for less than what you deserve. The danger of those inner words is that they rarely scream. They slip in subtly in the middle of the night when you're replaying mistakes. They creep in when you're about to step into something new and exciting, whispering, "Who do you think you are?" They show up when you look in the mirror, and instead of seeing progress, you only see flaws. And the more you let those words echo without challenging them, the more you start to believe they're true. But they're not truth, they're habits. Old, destructive habits that you've repeated long enough for your brain to accept them as fact. Think about it this way. If a friend came to you every day saying the same negative things you say to yourself, how long would you keep that friend around? Probably not long. And yet, you allow those thoughts to take up space in your mind unchecked, as if you owe them a permanent seat at the table. You don't. You have the power to choose a different conversation. Eliminating negative self-talk doesn't mean you'll never have a doubtful thought again. It means you stop letting those thoughts define you. You start catching them when they show up and replacing them with words that actually serve you. If your mind says, "I can't do this," you remind yourself, "I've faced hard things before and I'm still standing." If it says, "I always mess up," you counter with, "Every mistake I've made has taught me something that made me stronger." Slowly, you retrain your inner voice to become your ally instead of your enemy. This isn't about blind positivity or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing honesty over cruelty. It's about recognizing that the way you speak to yourself sets the standard for everything else in your life. Because if you keep tearing yourself down, you'll never believe you deserve better. But if you begin to lift yourself up, even in small ways, you'll find the courage to take risks, to love deeper, to walk away from what doesn't serve you, and to pursue the life you were meant to live. And here's the beautiful thing: when you start speaking to yourself with kindness, you notice your entire world shifting. You begin to carry yourself differently. You notice opportunities you used to overlook. You start attracting healthier relationships because you no longer tolerate being spoken to in ways that mirror your old inner critic. Your life begins to align with the words you've chosen to plant inside yourself. So stop being the villain in your own story. Stop giving power to the voice that only knows how to tear you down. You've survived too much. You've grown through too much. You've proven too much to keep talking to yourself like you're unworthy. The words you tell yourself every day are either building your future or breaking it apart. Choose the ones that build. Clutter is not just about the things stacked on your shelves or the clothes spilling out of your closet. It's also about the noise in your mind, the distractions in your day, and the weight of carrying too much that doesn't really matter. Physical clutter and mental clutter go hand in hand. The more your space feels chaotic, the more your thoughts do too. And when your thoughts are scattered, it becomes almost impossible to focus on what really matters. You end up busy all the time but not productive, surrounded by so much yet feeling empty inside. We don't always notice how clutter drains us because it does it quietly. That pile of things you've been meaning to deal with, that endless to-do list that never gets shorter, that stream of notifications constantly pulling your attention away, all of it chips away at your peace. And over time, it convinces you that you're overwhelmed, when in reality, you're just carrying too much unnecessary weight. The truth is, not everything deserves a space in your home, in your mind, or in your life. When you hold on to things you don't need, whether it's old possessions, outdated routines, or even unresolved thoughts, you're not just filling space, you're blocking new blessings from entering. Imagine trying to pour fresh water into a cup that's already overflowing. That's what life looks like when you refuse to let go. You think you're holding on for safety or comfort, but really, you're just keeping yourself stuck. The process of clearing clutter is more than just tidying up. It's an act of self-respect. It's telling yourself, I deserve a space, a mind, and a life that isn't weighed down by what no longer serves me. Sometimes that means cleaning out a drawer. Sometimes it means shutting off your phone for a while. Sometimes it means saying no to commitments that aren't aligned with who you're becoming. It's about creating room for clarity. Because clarity only shows up when you make space for it. And don't underestimate the power of small changes. Clearing clutter doesn't have to mean an overnight transformation. It can start with just one step. Donating something you don't use, deleting an app that distracts you, writing down the thoughts that keep spinning in your head so they stop taking up space inside you. Each small release lightens the load, and as you let go piece by piece, you begin to feel your energy returning. The same goes for mental clutter. You can't move forward when your mind is a constant replay of regrets, worries, and what ifs. At some point, you have to stop renting out mental space to things that drain you. Maybe that means forgiving yourself. Maybe it means letting go of an old story. Maybe it just means giving yourself permission to rest. Clearing your mind doesn't mean you never think. It means you stop letting your thoughts control you. And here's the most powerful part. When you live with less clutter, you discover more of yourself. You find out what really matters, what truly brings you peace, what actually deserves your attention. You stop feeling scattered and start feeling centered. Life becomes lighter, calmer, and more focused, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally made room for what matters most. So if your life feels heavy right now, maybe it's not because you're weak. It's because you're carrying too much that was never meant to stay.